Good morning and welcome to the Adult Education and Workforce Development Statewide webinar for September 8th, 2021. I am Jerry Hafner. Joining me is the Adult Education team and several special guests. As we know, students go through so many challenges before they arrive on our doorsteps. The next story is no exception. It comes from our friends at Impact Institute. And you will hear Caroline Foster in just a few minutes, who will present on marketing and some marketing tips. Here's the story. My name is Dustin Gamble. I was born in Auburn, Indiana. I don't remember a lot from infancy until I was 4 or 5 years old. Those memories consist of a mobile home in a holler in Kentucky, where my brother and I lived with my mother and her boyfriend. I went through high school just to find out where the party was. I did the bare minimum and got into a lot of fights. By the time I was 20, I was a convicted felon and sentenced to do a year in prison. Blinded by never being sober, I had no idea of how to handle emotions. I got into even heavier drugs and even started dealing. No one wanted me around. No one seemed to care anymore. I ran off completely high on heavy drugs, trying to forget everything. I used every single day and had warrants in multiple states. Completely out of my mind, high on meth, in a rundown motel in a large city, I decided to kill myself. I decided I couldn't repair the damage I had done to my family. I decided I couldn't go to prison because I couldn't be sober. I decided to take 30 mg's of Xanax all at one time. It was over, and I knew for sure after taking those pills that I'd fall asleep in 20 to 30 minutes. I knew I would never wake up again. But Dustin didn't die. He woke up 15 hours later. There was someone banging on my door. I opened the door and it was the sheriff's department. I have no idea to this day how I woke up from taking those pills, but I know there was a reason. I've taken the miracle and ran with it. I have never been sober for more than a couple months since 6th grade. During my 9 months of incarceration, I was able to clear my head and start to deal with my emotions. I know that this is a chance to be sober and be there for my children. I now see the world in a totally different light. I was blessed with being put on a community corrections program. I now have a great job. I have a relationship with my children, and getting my HSE is another milestone that I can't wait to be able to say I've accomplished. I will be the very first one in my family to have a diploma or equivalent. I can't wait to break the cycle for me and my children. This is such a moving story, and I hope in just a few minutes when Caroline joins us that she can update Dustin's progress. But now let's turn to JAG, and Bart Doan is not with us this morning. Bart is one of our colleagues in JAG, but Dan is here to provide his updates. Good morning, Dan.
Hello, Jerry. JAG updates. The Jobs for America's Graduates has transitioned to the new CMS JAG Force Salesforce system. Of most recent graduating class that may need AE services, There are currently 180 non-grads, 80%, 90%, 96% graduation rate, only 41 full-time employed, 23%, only 15 are attending some form of classes to obtain their diploma, 8%. Please encourage AE staff to feel free to reach out to the youth team about specific regional data to contact students. Also, we're looking at Workforce Development Month, all month sharing JAG students or youth who have used our services to secure employment. Feel free to send over any youth in your program that you would like to potentially highlight on social media. Employer engagement needs. LAZ Parking is looking to partner with JAG and OSY programming. Non-tip jobs start at 15 bucks an hour, tip jobs at $12 plus tips. No high school diploma or HSC is needed to work there. They do not test for cannabis as a requirement for employment. Below you will see a link taking you to that information. American Senior Communities, new federal apprenticeships approved. No HSC required to work there. Looking to partner with JAG and OSY programming as well. Junior Achievement Job Spark, September 21st to 22nd, held virtually once again. Over 10,000 students expected to participate. DWD is producing a live student panel, recorded content, and state leaders competitive quiz. In order to access the content, you must volunteer, and there again, you will find a link to that registration. Success story here, Natasha Carter, a Cloverdale JAG graduate who recently received her CNA license, is now working at the American Senior Community location. This is highlighting our partnership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan, and thank you for Bart for providing those slides and the information. Joining us again this month is the HiSET team to explain more about HSE testing and to provide updates. Welcome. Hello, Adam.
Hey there,
Tanya.
Jeff.
Morning.
Jeff, it's great to be here again. My understanding is I sent the slides to Megan and you'll advance them for me on the big screen there. We're excited that things are starting here in Indiana and we welcome everybody. We've been getting a tremendous amount of questions, and on behalf of the entire HiSET team, I want you to know that we're doing our very best to answer them as promptly and as efficiently as possible. The vast majority of people are reporting great success getting started. And if you're stubbing your toe on something or have a question or procedure, want to discuss anything, please reach out to either myself or Tanya and we'll be happy to help. So this morning, we're going to go over a few quick slides and do some review. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Just to remind everybody, the best starting point, jumping off point for both administrators, students, and instructors is the HiSET state requirements. Well, it's the HiSET homepage, hiset.ets.org, but specifically for Indiana, we're showing you the slide. And if you go in the requirements and you click state requirements, you can choose Indiana. And on the Indiana page, it answers a plethora. There's your $10 word for the morning, a plethora of answers to questions that are the most common asked questions. So in addition to state eligibility requirements, age requirements, residency requirements, and test preparation instruction requirements, next slide, please, Sherry. It also answers these are the top hitters, fees and payment refunds, testing options, how to schedule an appointment, what to do on test day, scoring, how to get your scores, and then also a list of frequently asked questions. And to be clear, this is a summary of them. If you're actually on the web page, each one of these blue subcategories would have a paragraph or two explaining the answer and if links are appropriate, containing links there. So again, a great jumping off place is to go to the hiset.ets.org, the main HiSET webpage, and look under requirements, state requirements for Indiana. If you like using search bars, a quick shortcut is just to Google HiSET State Requirements Indiana, and that will also take you right to the page. Slide. Let's just review a little bit about the HiSET test form so we're all clear. There are two basic forms. There's the computer and paper-based format, and sites can offer one or both of them. The HiSET is also available in English and in Spanish, and we have accommodated test forms that you can have set up for you by reaching out to Disability Services. And you can mix and match English, Spanish, and computer and paper-based. However, keep in mind, we're going to cover this in just on the next slide, but we give a retest option. Whoa, sorry, Jerry, I'm not ready yet. Thank you, though. Good man. When you do the retest option, you have to continue with modality and format. So if you have started in Spanish on the math test on computers, if you're going to do a retest, it has to be Spanish, math test, computers, and so forth. We have 5 subtests. There is the English language arts, the reading English language arts, the writing, mathematics, English language arts. So there's reading and writing, mathematics, science, and social studies. And really the key thing to pay attention to about the subtests, each of them are between 50 and 61 questions long. The writing is the longest one. It has 60 multiple choice and an essay question. And the writing is the only subtest that has 2 parts, and both parts must be taken concurrently, that is in the same sitting. So all 60 multiple choice questions and then the essay taken in one sitting. There are 3 test forms per subtest available each calendar year. This can get a little confusing for people, but what this is our effort to make sure that no student will ever see the same test twice. So each year, starting on January 1st, HiSET releases 3 versions, a form A, B, and C, if you will, of each of the 5 subtests. And a student cannot take any individual subtest more than those 3 times in 1 year. That way, it would be unfair for a student to see the same test twice to the other students. Next slide, please, Sherry. We do offer retest credits, so now that that's clear, let's confuse the waters a little bit. There are 3 versions of the subtest. You can take it 3 times a year. When you pay for a HiSET subtest, I like to call it 3 at-bats for those of us that are baseball fans. So when you go up to the mound, you get 3 swings at the ball to hit it out of the ballpark, or at least to get on base. So when you pay your HiSET subtest fee, it includes 2 retest credits. So if you swing and you miss, i.e. you don't pass the first time, you have up to 12 months from the day you registered for the test to take it 2 more times. And although test center fees still apply, you will not have to pay the HiSET fee. In Indiana, test takers must take the full battery, that's all 5 subtests, before they can retest in any individual subtest, and there's a 30-day cooling off period in the state of Indiana. Now, other fees may apply. For example, the HiSET exam at home remote fee of $17.50 applies each time, and if there was a test center fee at an individual test center, that fee would also apply as well. Next slide, please, Jerry. Scoring levels. We had quite a few questions about scoring levels, and this is an important feature. There's some great features about the HiSET scoring. I can tell you as an educator with close to 30 years experience and looking at a wide variety of scoring indicators, one of the great things about the HiSET scoring reports, and we're going to take a look at some samples, is how easy they are to navigate. But let's understand the scores. So as I mentioned before, there are between 50 and 61 questions on any individual subtest. Those are scaled to a 20-point rubric. That's a proportion problem. Let's do a little math first thing in the morning, everybody. And that means that that scale between 50 and 61 questions is scaled to between 0 and 20 points. That's a scaled score. In order to pass any individual subtest, a student must get a minimum of 8 out of 20, roughly 40%, 8 out of 20 on an individual subtest. And let's remember our friend, the writing subtest. It's always special. Writing is special. There are 2 parts to the writing. You must score at least 2 of the points from the essay, the written portion. So if you think about that scale, there are 20 points possible in the writing subtest. 14 of them can come from the multiple choice, and 6 of them can come from the essay. You need a total of 8 to pass, and at least 2 of them have to come from the essay. Now, just to make it a little bit more challenging for students, and quite frankly, all of these scores are correlated to Octave and CCR standards, so that the student scores reflect the average high school student taking a high school diploma in the United States. That's where these scores are correlated to. A combined score must be at least 45 on the entire battery. If you'll remember, a battery is 5 subtests. So what that means is a student must do better than the minimum on at least one, if not all, of the subtests, because the minimum passing is 8, but 8 times 5 is 40, and you need at least 45 in order to pass the entire battery. Now, one of the great features of the HiSET is the College and Career Readiness Score. Now, again, that scaled rubric of 20 points. In order to get a CCR score or College and Career Readiness Score, you must have a minimum scaled score of 15 out of 20, or roughly 75% on each subtest. And on the written portion, you must have at least 4 of those 15 points coming from the essay. The CCR, the College and Career Readiness Score, is a performance level indicative of college entry into credit-bearing courses. If you take a look at the HiSET Technical Manual, Chapter 9, we provide much more detailed information. If you have questions, you can simply Google it or email either Tanya or myself. Next slide, please, Jerry. HiSET's unofficial and official and unofficial scores. Now, this is a feature that is actually quite popular with students and with administrators and testers, test administrators, and instructors when they find out the results. Because in over 27 years of working with students, I have never, ever had a student after taking a test say, I don't care how I did, tell me next week. They always want to know now. How did I do right now? So one of the features of the computer-based test is that when you close the test, when you indicate that you are done, right when you close it, the student will see an unofficial score broadcast on the screen. I can tell you that in all the years that HiSET has been offered since 2014 technically, but 2012 since its inception, we've never had an error in that area. We've had scores invalidated due to cheating or other irregularities, but the unofficial scores have stood the test of time, and it's a great message for the student, a great message for the instructors or for the test administrators. So the unofficial test scores are visible to the test taker at the end of the computer-based test, except for the written subtest, because that has to be scored by a human. All of our essays are scored by human scores. ETS will certify the computer-based scores and provide official scores within 3 business days for the multiple choice test and 5 business days for the language arts written subtest. I can tell you my experience with ETS, it's actually much faster than that, but that is the parameters that we're contracted to fulfill. Keep in mind that the business days start on Eastern Standard Time based on Princeton, New Jersey, when the scores are tested. So if a student took a test, for example, on a Friday at 6 p.m. and submitted the test at 6 or after 5 p.m. on a Friday, the scores might arrive on our computer Friday night, but really it's Monday morning that's going to start the business day. So they could expect to see their scores by Wednesday, the following Wednesday, posted in their on their HiSET portal and available to you through your reporting, your data manager. Paper-based tests are the same process. Remember, with paper-based tests, you're not uploading it. You're putting the tests in an envelope and mailing them back to Princeton at no additional cost to you. And that 3-day, 5-day time period starts when that piece of paper arrives in Princeton. So again, if you mail it after 5 p.m. let's say on a Saturday, there's no mail on Sunday. The mail isn't going to get picked up till Monday. It's going to take a couple of days to get to Princeton. On a good day, it'll get there by Wednesday, and then that 3 to 5 day time period will start then. Official scores are posted to the test taker's My HiSET account and the HiSET portal for test takers. Next slide, please. This is one of my favorite parts. This speaks to the educator and to the student in me. I think you'll all agree that the number one question people want to know is, did I pass? And most reports are very difficult to comprehend. But if you look at this, right on the right there in a big blue box, did you achieve the minimum score? Yes, no. Simple English language that almost everyone's eyes are drawn to that box right away. And it quickly indicates whether or not you passed or not passed the subtest. If you look to the left, it'll break down. This is a writing. You can see the score was 15. They got a 2 on the essay. If you recall from just a few minutes ago, that's a passing. Out of a possible 20, it gives the minimum scores. Underneath part is great, especially for the instructors or for the student, because it breaks down the performance in the performance categories. So this is a student who passed, did very well in 2 of the 3 areas, but the weakest area is writing convention. So if this was my student going on to a 2-year or 4-year program, I might say, you did great with organizational ideas and language facility. Let's have you work on writing conventions once you get to the next level. And if they had not passed, this is the start of a remedial instruction program for the student. These are the areas that they would want to target to do better the next time. Very useful document. Well, this is the individual test report. Jerry, if you could go to the next slide. We'll take a look at the comprehensive. It's even more blunt and direct, because this comprehensive means all 5 batteries. And again, in the middle of the page, right where your eyes are drawn, did you pass the HiSET exam? Big blue box, yes or no. It just doesn't get any easier than that, folks. And this is a great way for students and for everyone to know right away how a student did. If you look above it, there's a series of questions that it's the path to passing. Did you take all 5 of the subtests? If you haven't taken all 5 of them, you can't pass. This is also a great report because in the state of Indiana, you cannot retest until you've taken all 5. So if a student is wondering, have I taken all 5 yet? And as we know, our students are good, hardworking, well-intending people, but it's easy to, did I take 3 or 4? They can go to the comprehensive report and that first line will tell them whether or not they've taken all 5 or not. Did you pass? Did you not pass? And then if you look at the lower part below the midline, it looks at all 5 subtests. It'll give them their highest score. So if they did multiple attempts, remember those 3 at-bats, it shows them their best score, the date they took it, and whether or not they passed. A really useful document, very easy to navigate. And again, available to the students through their HiSET portal, through their HiSET page, and to you through your data manager admin portals for students that are registered to you and your school. Next slide, please, Jerry. So Tanya and I really enjoyed working with Indiana. We're both very excited to be so much prep work working with Jerry and Megan and their great team, and we have not been disappointed. We work nationally with many different states and many different sites, and I can say without hyperbole that Indiana has the highest standard that I've seen for its adult ed programs, and it's evident in the efficient way that you guys approach your testing and your testing center. So it's an honor to work with you. Our contact information is here. Tommy and I are both happy to answer any questions. Matt, did we have any questions in the question box that we need to cover at this time?
Yes, we do. I'm just reading them now. There's actually several. Okay. The first one is from Mandy. For the HiSET team, we have a new jail location that we need to arrange proctored testing by HiSET. Does the location, jail, need to be a testing site approved? And then what steps do they need to take to make this happen?
Great question, Mandy. So step 1, Mandy, is for you to send an email to Megan. Megan Hibbert is our state director. She's the gateway. Megan will send an email, get Megan's approval. Megan has been wonderful to work with. She's very efficient. As soon as she approves, she may have questions for you. She may not. I'm not in charge of Megan, not today anyway. She'll approve it. It sounds like this is a no-brainer. As soon as she has approved it, she's very good at CCing me on the approval process, and then we'll reach out to you with the next steps. Good question. Next question, please.
And then she's also got a question about the scoring, and I can answer that one because we have not coded inters yet to the new HiSET stuff. I think that I got Steve, our programmer, in touch with you all to be able to recode inters. If not, I'll make sure that happens so that we can enter the HiSET scores. So right now, hold off on entering HiSET scores. Correct, Jerry? He's shaking his head. Yes. Okay, good. And then there's another question. According to the reschedule cancellation policies on the web page, students must reschedule or cancel. They must do so the day before. What if they have to reschedule the day of? We have multiple situations where this could be the case. What are the options for rescheduling the day of the test?
Well, that's another great question. Thank you for it. Again, that page that I sent you, the state requirements, if you saw those questions, you probably didn't get a chance to scan all those little questions. That's actually a subheading that is specifically addressed. I'm going to give you the answer, but like a good teacher, I'm going to show you where the cliff notes are. So HiSET state requirements, Indiana, will take you straight to the page. You can click and get this information again. But the simple answer is that HiSET's, so in order not to forfeit your fee, HiSET requires that you cancel up till 11:59 the night before or midnight the night before, the day before. However, we at HiSET, look, all of us have been in adult education for more than 10 minutes, and we know that adult education students face challenges that regular K-12 students simply do not face. All of us do. You could be on vacation to Florida and a hurricane could blow in. You could be on your way to a test center and something could happen. There's a lot of very good reasons why a student did not make their appointment and was unable to cancel the test. In those situations, we always encourage a student to reach out directly to the 1-855-MY-HISET, that's a phone number, or they can email HISET Student Support Services and explain the circumstances. I was on the way to the test center. My aunt had a diabetic emergency. I'm the other one with the vehicle. I need to drive them to the hospital. Of course, we understand that, and HISET will work directly with those students to refund fees or to credit fees that are appropriate. But if your reason is, I was at the mall shopping and something was on sale on the 3rd floor and I couldn't get down to the parking lot on time, I'm sorry, I hope the outfit fits, and maybe the store will take the return, but HISET will not do that. So there's a lot of flexibility. We are human. We like to say yes, but when we say no, and this comes up in a lot of areas, it's to protect the integrity not only of the test, but our responsibility to all the test takers who were able to, let's be honest, everyone, follow the rules. So what I would strongly encourage you to do is go to Google or follow the link, HISET State Requirements Indiana, and then look at those fee restructuring questions. Matt, do you think I covered the answer there?
Yeah, I think that was good. All right, so I got another one. When retesting, are the 12 months strictly January through December? Example, if students take the exam in 2021 and need to retest, does the 3 retakes use the student's calendar year, or can there be 2 takes before December 2021 and 3 retakes in 2022? So
Matt,
our terms,
this is
I'll
where Tanya
explain.
and I are both laughing.
Our term runs.
This is where Tanya and I both laugh because I wish they had picked just a different number, 4 instead of 3 or 2. It just drives me crazy. So I'm going to try to make it clear. There are 2 categories that we're talking about. One is the number of tests that a student can take during a calendar year, regardless of who paid for it and who didn't pay for it, whether it's the first time, whatever. And there's that. And then the other one is the number of times the student has to pay for a test. So let's separate those 2 right now. We're going to get biblical. We're going to part those waters, okay? There's a nice corridor down the middle. The first corridor on the left, we have the number of times you can take any individual subtest in a calendar year. That is January 1st to December 31st. That answer is 3. You can take any, thank you, Tanya. You can take any subset. You can take the math test 3 times from January 1st to December 31st. Now, quite frankly, you could take them all 3 in December. You can take all 3 in January. You can take them throughout the year. Right now, we're in the 9th month of the year. So your ability to take 3 tests is severely limited, especially with the 30-day wait period in the state of Indiana. You'd really have to work to squeeze those 3 in there. But again, let's separate this out. Calendar year refers to the number of times any student in any circumstance can take any individual subtest. So that's one thing. Now we're going to look on the other wall of water. On that side is the number of times a student has to pay in order to take the test. And what we're talking about is the HISET fee, not any state testing, test center fees or at-home testing. So the HISET fee, what the student pays ETS in order to have the privilege of taking the HISET, is a one-time, a fee that is paid once and allows you 3 attempts. And this is based on the 1 year, 12 months from the day the student paid for it. So if Tanya is my student, and she's a great student, she's ready, she's prepped, she's taken everything. Tanya and Jerry are both my students. Here they go, they're ready to go. Tanya and Jerry sign up today. Today is September 8th. By the way, everyone, it's my son's 27th birthday today. 27 years ago was the greatest day of my life. I love being here with you guys today. But anyway, here we are on September 8th, 2021. Tanya and Jerry are my students, and they both sign up to take the math test today. They both schedule it for tomorrow. They have 12 months. They have until September 8th, 2022 to use up their 2 retake credits. However, so that's the 2 areas. However, if unfortunately Jerry was a little distracted and didn't pass it the first time, he could schedule a retest at no additional charge 30 days from the test date according to the state of Indiana and do it like that. So the 2 separate areas. One is the number of times you have to pay for the test. Those retake credits are based on a 12-month period from the day you paid for the test, not the day you scheduled it, the day you paid. And then you can only take a test 3 times in a year. Thank you for the question.
All right, got a couple more. Once they start taking the HISETs, do they have to complete the whole battery within a certain amount of time? So is there a time limit?
That's a great question for So ECS sets no time limits like that, and I'm not aware that Indiana has at this time. Jerry, am I correct? There is no. Do you have to complete all 5 subtests within a year or something like that? Or there's no limit that I know of in Indiana. Is that correct? Okay, so Jerry is giving me the waggle, the head waggle. I'm going to interpret this as saying, in the state of Indiana, there are no time limits for completion. And quite frankly, that HiSET portal that I talked about preserves the student scores in perpetuity. Currently, we go back all the way to I think it's 2012, but 2014 are posted scores. So what if a student moves out of state and comes back later, or moved to Indiana from another state? You can look up their HiSET scores and say, oh, look, it's a great tool. But the simple answer is no, there is no time limit for completion.
Then I have two that are, go ahead, Jerry, sorry.
There was a time limit for task.
Okay.
Oh,
So I've got two that are the same question about accessing the scores. Instructors and data entry managers are wanting to know if there will be access to HiSET scores like they have had for task via Prism. I mean, I think you just talked about
so that's a good question. We also, and there's also a question that Megan had forwarded to me because GED was providing scores as well. There's a way, because there was I thought it was a community college looking for CCR scores. I'm sorry, folks, but I'll answer the question specifically. Regardless of your need for why you need the information for scores, there's a couple of criteria that need to be met. If you currently have administrative privileges within one of your sites, you can view the scores past, present, or even future scheduled of any student that's assigned to your site. If you require statewide access, that has to go through Jerry and Megan. They have that access, and that's a report that they can generate for you, or they can decide to tell us to grant you those privileges. Administrative portals grant you access to students or to sites that are associated with you. So, for instance, if you are at South Bend Adult School and you are assigned, that site is associated with you, you have access to all the students that have registered and taken tests at South Bend Adult School. If you are in Bloomington, Bloomington Adult School, you have it for Bloomington. If you need, for some reason, statewide access, that is only granted through the statewide office, and currently that's Megan and Jerry, and that's really up to them to decide how to generate that access. One little caveat that comes up with generating scores is until a student has actually registered and taken a test in your state, they are not associated with you. And we have had a limited number of test centers that have a student that's moved in, that's new to them, and they go to look up the student and they can't look them up right away. So there's you can reach out directly to us and we'll help you with that, but just keep that in mind. And this is just, honestly, this is a PII. It's a privacy issue that we're protecting students' privacy until they are officially associated with you. Matt, did I cover the question?
Yeah, and then I personally have a follow-up question to that. So we have students who go from ABE program to ABE program. If I test at South Bend and then I go to Bloomington, once I'm in Bloomington, do I have records? Do I have access to the student's records? So does that testing follow the student?
Yes, Matt, great question. Great question, Matt. So let's keep in mind, your access to the student will determine once the student has associated himself with your site. That's fine. Once that student has associated with him or herself with your site, you have access to all the HiSET scoring they've ever done in their entire careers. So they could have been in California, happily testing away somewhere near the Palm Springs or something like that, right? They decide to move to Indiana because we all know that's the greatest state in the union, and they want to be closer to their mother-in-law, perhaps. And so they move to Indiana, and they start testing at the South Bend Adult School. And Matt, you're the instructor. They've taken one test with you. As soon as they've associated themselves with South Bend, which I'm just going to assign you to it right now in this hypothetical thing, you would then be able to see all the testing that student had done anywhere in the world. Conversely, the student can access that information through their HiSET portal at any time, anywhere. So this is for everyone who's listening. If you have a new student who's coming to your site and has not associated with you yet, and yet for some reason you need to have information about them, that student can either access it and share it with you, or you can sit down with them and they can use their username and password and show you that they can print a copy of the comprehensive report as well. Matt, does that answer your question?
That sure was. That did. So just to clarify for people on the call, once they test with HiSET at your program, you have access to all of their tests, regardless of where they're
That's
at
correct.
in the state.
That's
Okay.
correct.
See, that was
We
a
have
summation.
testing centers in Guam. Wherever it is that they tested, they could do it.
And then I got another one towards this. If you are a director and not the test proctor, can you access their scores? So if the director of an ABE program who is not the test proctor, if they have admin rights associated from Jerry, then they can access the scores, is what I'm understanding.
That's
or do
correct.
you give those?
If a person is on the Center Master Form, CMF, those of you that have been going through the process know what I'm talking about. For those of you that are not familiar with that term, that is the master form that lists what we call HiSET staff, either chief examiners, test administrators, or not proctors, wouldn't have that kind of access, but chief examiners and test administrators. Those are administrators associated with that site. If you are administrator and you are associated with that site, you have access to scores as well as several other features.
Okay, I think that's got it. Do we have any more questions? And seriously, those were good questions.
Yeah, those are great questions. Jerry, I just want to add you and I and Megan, and if I could make a pre-announcement, Jerry, I hope I'm not overstepping. The three of us, or the four of us, Tanya and I, we've all talked about as Indiana moves forward, and as y'all are getting your test center set up and you're starting to generate data, we have it in mind already to plan a future session where we're going to do a training on data manager, because we've alluded to it many times here. Now, I was a kind of a numbers geek. That's just the way I like to use data to inform my instruction. I already know from working with Indiana that you guys are the kings and queens of that. And so we're already planning a session, and Jerry and Megan have been very much in front of this one, where we will show you how to use that data manager to not only look up an individual score, but to track trends and trends and interpret data at your sites. As always, it's a pleasure. Tanya, I did all the talking. We need to hear from you at least once here. I'm so sorry.
No, I think you covered it. You did a great job. Thanks, Adam. Thank you, everybody, for the questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great information, great presentation, Adam. So thank you again. Megan is here with us this morning, and she will have some further updates in relation to HSE. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning, Jerry. Thank you, HiSET team, and thank you, Jerry. Good morning, everybody. I am Megan Hibbard, your high school equivalency coordinator for the state of Indiana. And just to kind of go back to what Tanya and Adam were saying, especially Adam, one of the reasons why we did go to HiSET was because it is they are a main testing center, or main testing vendor, excuse me, for many of our neighboring states and territories. But I want to give you an example of a reason why they said, the scores go back into like 2015, 2014. We had a student that was contacting me, well, actually the program contacted me earlier this week and said, or late last week, and they said, can we have someone that tested in another state come in and test for Indiana? They used HiSET. They had passed every test, I think, except for 1 or 2 subtests, and they tested back in 2015, 2017 area. And we are allowing that to happen. So that just goes to show you that it is possible for other people to use, and this is one of the reasons why we have went with them. The first, but I would like to remind you that the last day for testing is September 30th this month. Nobody is allowed to test past September 30th, and DRC in task has given directions on how to start mailing back your testing materials if you are completed with testing. If you are not completing with testing, obviously you're not going to be mailing your testing materials out until October or whenever you are finished with everything. But if you do not have received directions from them, please email me and I will make for sure that those directions are forwarded on to you on how to handle those testing materials appropriately. The next thing is I would like to talk about scores. As you all know, that one of the reasons why we are telling you to stop at September 30th is because any scores that are past September 30th will be very hard for me to get a hold of, especially after October 15th, because October 15th is the very last day the contract for task. So you need to start making sure that you're getting your scores back in a timely manner, that your students are receiving their official documents, that they're supposed to be receiving official documents. If you are getting them as directors, the official documents, please make for sure to, and I know a lot of you already do this, and I much appreciate and greatly appreciate that you are doing that. But please, make for sure it doesn't go beyond a week. If it goes on beyond a week, you need to start notifying me, because like I said, the scores are, sometimes there's a lag between task and diploma sender. So if there is, I need to be aware of it. That way we get those scores in ASAP and they get those official documents. Otherwise, I won't be able to get these scores for their individuals, and they'll end up, even though they'll end up passing, they'll end up failing, and we'll have to start over again with HiSET come late October, November, and we're trying our best to keep that from happening. So please make for sure, keep in contact with your testers, make for sure they are receiving their documents, and then there is not a problem with the scores. Also too, as you are finishing up with task, please make for sure that you are aligned 60 days in between the forms. We've had some situations where people have been testing, and I understand that you're trying to get it done. I respect that and I appreciate it. However, Diploma Center will flag the test if they had taken the same form in less than 60 days, which causes a huge issue, because then that means if that person ends up passing, they will not get their certificate, and then I end up having to waive the policy, and I'm not going to waive the policy. So anyway, just another heads up that when you are filing from the last test, that you are making sure that there is 60 days in between each form. Another thing is too, with the HiSET, I don't remember if this was talked about today, but it has also been brought to my attention that you're not able to look up the tester's last name in HiSET. You have to have the tester ID number. It, to me, is as pertinent that you would have an Excel spreadsheet with the student's first and last name, as well as a column for their tester ID. And until we get everything really up and going to make sure there's no glitches in either system, I would also keep track of what tests they score. So like if they take in the top column, I would do like all your battery tests, like all your battery sub tests, science, social studies, math, English reading, English writing. And then from there, I would make for sure that I wrote in the actual scores, and that way when enters between HiSET and enters in Diploma Center, they all match up, and you've got the proof in hand in case there is a discrepancy. And one last thing I also have you do, and obviously this is not going to be an issue, hopefully this will not be an issue with HiSET, but please make for sure that when you do go send students to testing, that they are prepared. That's the one thing that as an educator, we really strive hard for. We don't want our students to just keep taking the test just to be taking the test. We really want them to be well prepared, well versed, and we really want them to be passed on the first go around. So please make for sure that you are doing everything in your power to make for sure that they are ready and that they can pass. The probability of the first time is extremely high. We just don't want someone to go in and keep taking a test. It's very defeating to the student, and it doesn't look well on us as educators either. That's all I have for you this morning. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you very much, Megan. Well, let's move on to.
I've got a question for Megan. Sorry.
Sure.
Megan, come back.
Go right ahead.
I'm here.
This is from Amy. So she's saying it seems every day that someone from the past calls me to get their HSE results. I send them to diplomacenter.com. Will I still be sending them to that website?
Yes. And if they're having issues, contact me. But yes.
Okay.
Send it to Diploma Center.
That's all. Anybody else got anything for Megan? Good question, Amy. That's it.
All right.
All right.
let's move on to professional development, and Dan is back with us again for some updates and more about professional development. Good morning, Dan.
Thanks, Jerry. I'm back. Next slide. Thanks. Okay, we're going to start with adult education programs will receive reimbursement for just going back to the HSC again. They will receive reimbursement for student test fees, a maximum fee of $115 for examinees who take the HiSET exam. To qualify, students must first currently be enrolled 12 hours in an adult education program and, next slide, have 2 successful scores on the free HiSET practice exams, all subjects September 2017 release. And below this, you will see the link to that, or the free interactive tests. And there again, you'll see a link. Successful scores on all subjects on the HiSET printable practice test, $10 each, may be substituted for the free practice exams. And there again, you have a link to that information. Now we're going to take a look at the mid-year incentive funding. As a reminder, there will be 2 mid-year incentives for achieving performance for outcomes for PY 2021-22. Grantees or subrecipients will receive mid-year performance incentives for achieving 55% on NRS Table 4, Column J by 12/31/2021. Grantees will receive also a mid-year for enrollments. They will receive a mid-year performance incentive for equaling the highest enrollment number of either 12/31/19 or 12/31/20. And new programs, our new grantees from PY 2020 will receive a mid-year performance incentive for equaling the enrollment number on 6/30/2021. Now we want to go back to the HiSET a little bit and look at some best practices for preparing the students. As Megan was saying, we don't want to keep testing students over and over and over, or maybe trying to use the HiSET test as like a post test as far as just practicing. So therefore, in preparing students for the HiSET, it's important to note that students, as we said earlier, can only take the test 3 times within 1 calendar year. Therefore, okay, so we're going to be looking at some best practices for preparing for the HiSET. In order to prepare students for testing, that, as we've said, the HiSET offers free practice prep tools. The first one would be your sample questions test. This test has examples of question types that will appear on the 5 subtests. This is the shortest test, and there's approximately 5 per subtest on this one. You also have your interactive practice test. Students can experience what it's like to take the computer-delivered HiSET exam by taking 2 free 30 to 45-minute interactive tests. On these tests, the students will need to, it's very simple, but they'll need to actually register and give their email address and so forth. Best practices and preparation, it's important to make sure that students are fully prepared, as Megan said earlier, to take the HiSET exam. And in order to prepare students for testing, HiSET offers free test prep materials. I've talked about the sample. We can also look at, in addition, there are 2 free downloadable paper tests. And there's practice tests that students can build their knowledge on. There's 2 online, they call them ebooks, and they're downloadable. Now, these are official tests, and they will cost the program $10 per subtest. These tests are the same as the free downloadable tests. Next slide. A recommended best practice, again, once students have comfortably progressed to NRS level 3, they should be offered the opportunity to test drive the HiSET test. This can be done by giving, as mentioned earlier, the sample questions test, which offers there again a few questions of each subtest. If students show success with the sample test, then one of the longer free practice tests may be given, downloadable, paper-based, or interactive. If success is again met, This practice test will qualify a student to receive free testing offered through state funding. For fast tracking students, it's suggested that they immediately be given one of the free practice tests. Thank you.
And
Okay,
thank you so much.
I got questions. Dan has questions.
Yes,
Okay, so
Go
this
ahead.
is from Christina. I thought we could use the OPT practice test online. Does it have to be the printable? We use the $10 OPT through Essential Education. Does that qualify for HSE reimbursement?
I believe you can use any of them because there's downloadable that are free. There's practice for, as I mentioned earlier, where the students can actually register, and there's 2 practice tests that are free. Those can be used. And if you wish to, you can also purchase the official practice test, and they have those online and printable. The online, as I said, are called ebooks. So any of these will count. The sample test will not count. That's basically a test drive just to give students kind of a taste of what the test is like. And it would be a really good test to make sure that is a best practice at least all the teachers take so they get an idea of what the HiSET test looks like.
All right, and then does Dan mean successful practice test scores in 2 of the 5 subjects to qualify for testing fees reimbursement?
I do believe that's correct. The students have to pass 2 practice tests in order to get the reimbursed through the state funding. Is that correct, Jerry?
Just one.
Just
practice.
one? Just one then, okay.
Yeah.
The slide said we're looking at 2, that's a little confusing there. So they only have to pass 1 practice test okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what are the mid-year incentive dollar amounts?
Well, that kind of, I'll leave that to Jerry, but it kind of depends on how much is sent back, I suppose. But no, yeah.
We won't know that figure. We look at the dollars, as Dan said, that have been sent back, and then calculate it from that. We won't have a good idea until end of December, early January, as we do the awards. So
And that was the
again,
same as last year, I believe.
yeah, as a guide, I would look at the same as last year, but that is no guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this one, I think I answered it correctly, but I just want to make sure. For the mid-year incentive for enrollment equaling the highest enrollment for either 2019 or 2020, we are shooting for equal a yearly enrollment for either 2019 or 2020 mid-year this year. Please clarify what you're talking about for the enrollments.
Well, that was kind of that was almost like a Dan question. That was kind of hard to follow. With the mid-year incentive, we looked at ending December of last year and the year before. And despite having a pandemic, we actually had programs who did better by December 31st this past year. So what we did was we looked at if you did better 2 years ago, that's what we set it at, what your enrollments were. If they were better this past year, we did that. We have 5 new programs. So a lot of those didn't even really get going until about mid-year anyways. So in the case of those 5 programs, they will have to meet at mid-year what they ended up with in 2021 at June 31st. Does that make sense? Sure.
All righty.
Yeah, there's still more questions, unless you want to wait till the end, Jerry.
Go ahead.
Okay. So a follow-up to that is total yearly enrollment previously met in a 4-month period for this year. Is that so? From July to December is what we're looking at for
Right.
2021. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Mid-year.
Go ahead.
That's it. Mid-year.
Okay. And then just to clarify, they only have to take 1 successful practice test score, but do they still have to have completed all 5 practice tests for the free test coverage?
Yes. I mean, you're going to have to do all 5 to show that you've passed the test.
And then
we're just starting the HiSET, so I don't know. I guess if someone came from another state and they've already passed a number of the tests, in that case, they would only take the one or two tests. Because we're just starting out right now, so I'm guessing most people will have to take all 5 tests. They wouldn't already have one.
Okay. And then that's all I got, because Kitty's question was pretty much the exact same.
Okay.
And if you guys got questions about these, go ahead and email Megan, and she can help you with the practice test stuff and the reimbursement stuff. Correct, Megan?
Correct, but I was going to say, like I said in my example, was we did have someone that from another state who has tested for HiSET in 2014 and 2017. They only have 1 or 2 tests to take, and now they have moved and living in Indiana. So they're only going to be taking that 1 or 2 sub-tests for the state of Indiana. So just to clarify, whatever they had taken from another state in years past, HiSET still has those scores. We are still honoring those scores. So they're only going to be taking that social science or social studies or math, whatever it is. They're only going to be taking those 1 or 2 tests in the state of Indiana. I hope that clarifies for everybody.
Okay. Marilyn, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, just a really quick comment. We're talking about reimbursement, but everybody should know, you should see the dollar amount for your allocation for test fees in your adult education contract. It is not separate like it was the last go around when we did this. So you need to meet all the requirements, but the funding will be there just like your regular adult education grant funding.
Yes, yes. And once your student takes the test, then you submit that for reimbursement, just as you do with your regular adult education state and federal funds. So, well, thank you very much, Dan. Roy is here this morning, and he has a special guest that he would like to introduce. Welcome, Roy.
Thank you, Jerry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Today we have Kathy Fletcher from WIN. Kathy will be hosting regional trainings for each region this fall. Those dates and how to sign up will be sent out to the field shortly. Today, Kathy is here to discuss the Essential Soft Skills Credential and answer some common questions. Kathy?
All right, Roy, thank you so much. So I'm happy to be here. I've been with WIN Learning for about 14 years, and I've been with Indiana for as long as I can remember. So a lot of you are very familiar with our soft skills courseware and of course our ready to work courseware. But we're pace setters here in Indiana, and we're also now looking at the essential soft skills assessment and credential. So I'm going to do a brief presentation today on that. Next slide, please. Just as an introduction to WIN Learning, we've been a leading innovator in career readiness solutions, providing virtual and blended career readiness solutions. We've had a lot of awards in the past 20 years, most recently, 2019 Award of Excellence for Best Career Prep Solution of the Year, and the EdTech Breakthrough Award in 2020 for the overall career prep solution of the year. In 2021, we're proud to say that WIN Learning was named the Remote Learning Winner for Tech and Learning Awards. So essentially our focus is building and measuring mastery of the foundational, academic, attitudinal, and behavioral skills that research shows are just really critical to the workplace. Next slide. So we know that having the right attitude and behavior in the workforce is just critical to transitions to a new occupation, provide adaptability to learn new skills. And I think you can say it's more vital today for our students and our learners and our job seekers to have soft skills, to be flexible, overcome barriers and the obstacles that we face today. Our Essential Soft Skills courseware has 4 robust modules, and Jerry, you just need to hit that 4 times, I think, and they'll populate on the screen for us. So our modules are conveying professionalism, communicating effectively, promoting teamwork and collaboration, and thinking critically and solving problems. Each module results in an e-badge, and 4 e-badges results in a certificate of completion for courseware. And I think you can see just by looking at the content that these modules teach the attitudes and behaviors that employers value most. So this course is a perfect complement to the workforce component of the IET program and adult education in general. Next slide. Each module has specific scope and sequence. So learners begin with the pretest, and then they go through instructional content. And those instructional contents include scenarios, check your knowledge questions, and videos to really engage learners. And then the post-test proves mastery of content, and that results, as I said, in e-badges and a certificate of completion in courseware. And in addition to that, we have all of our online learning modules, but our blended solution includes over 60 hours of offline materials, a perfect complement for adult education, because you oftentimes have a classroom, you oftentimes have face-to-face, and these offline blended solutions really offer you a way to reinforce exactly what they've learned online. And of course, it's great classroom engagement. Our secure, valid assessment indicates mastery of essential soft skills. It's a 60-minute proctored assessment, and it's composed mostly of workplace scenarios where learners are asked to identify what's the best way to handle a situation and what's the worst way to handle a situation in a workplace setting. And this way, your students will have to think about how does the employer look at these situations and what's going to be the best way to handle it and what's the worst way to handle it. Success on this proctored exam results in an Indiana credential signed by the DWD commissioner. And you can see the front side clearly shows very proud of Indiana's design here. And the back side, of course, includes the skill sets that they've proven that they have mastered. So we're ready for questions, but Roy, do you have anything more to add before we begin with questions?
No, that's fine. If we can go ahead. If there are any questions, Matt.
There are no questions.
Okay. All right. Well, if some come up, I guess Matt will let us know. Thank you very much, Kathy.
So happy to be part of the program. Excited to get started there.
Thanks again, Kathy. We appreciate all your help. Next slide, please. All right, so let's turn to IETs and WEIs. All applications have received feedback or been approved. If you submitted an application or revision last week, I'm still working on those. Thank you everyone for being patient and working diligently to make the necessary edits. I would like to review what needs to be submitted in your application. We're on that same one. There we go. For the vast majority of applications, you will follow the same process as before. For all IETs or IET-WEI combination courses, you will need to fill out the application and the IET curriculum. For WEIs, you will need to fill out the application and pay particular attention to question 21. That is where you describe your relationship with the employer. This will also need to be done for IET-WEI combination courses. Most programs attach an additional document for this. If you are not sure what questions to answer, there are instructions on the applications on what questions need to be answered. On the Excel application, for all courses, you will fill out the 2 tabs indicated here. Next slide. The only time you need to worry about the 3rd tab on the application is when you have a specific kind of WEI. If you are making use of any of the new measurable skill gains for your WEIs, you will have to fill out the application, including the WEI MSG tab. This is where you explain the measurable skill gain you are using and how it will be documented. The new measurable skill gains include the skills progression and progress milestone measurable skill gain. We sent out guidance for these measurable skill gains earlier this year. If you have questions about them or think you might want to use one of them, just let me know and we can discuss your options. Next slide, please. Here's a list of documentation we sent out earlier this year. If you have questions about any of the documents, just let me know and we can discuss them. The definition and process document is a good place to start to understand what IETs and WEIs are. It also includes the process for submission and the naming convention for courses. The measurable skill gain guidance document describes the new measurable skill gains for WEIs and how they can be useful to your program. The IET WEI application is what you will need to fill out for any IET WEI or IET WEI combination course. An IET curriculum must be submitted for all IETs or IET WEI combination courses. Remember, all IETs must include students getting the essential soft skills credential. The IET curriculum template demonstrates how your curriculum should be laid out, and there are example curriculums given. The WEI curriculum template only needs to be filled out for WEIs making use of the new measurable skill gains. All these documents were emailed out to the field and are on the state website under program policy and guidance. Next slide, please. Let's talk about some of the common revisions that I asked for. One is the occupational training costs. This wasn't listed on the original application, but it has been updated on the website. This is mainly for IETs or IET WEI combination courses. The total cost per student would include the cost of the workforce training, the adult education activities, and the workforce preparation. The occupational training cost would just be the workforce training cost or the certification training cost. For WEIs, you would just have the cost per student. Next slide. Another thing you want to check is the in-training program number. If this is not right, I will not be able to activate your course in Enters. If you go to the training provider webpage given, you can search by type of training, provider name, or location. And if you go to refine search, you can look by region. Double check that to speed up the approval process. Next slide, please. A final note on the application. Make sure the Enters information on the spreadsheet matches exactly what is in Enters. Please follow the naming convention discussed in the IET WEI definition and process document. Basically, you need to have the type of course, the cert or employer, and the fiscal year. I understand that you may have other identifiers like AM or PM or something else that your program uses, which I have no problem with. As long as you include the course type, cert or employer, and the fiscal year, we are happy. Next slide, please. Lastly, briefly discuss contextualizing your adult education activities. This will be done on the IET curriculum. Next slide. The college and career readiness standards are given in this document seen here. If you do a search for it, you should be able to find it. It contains standards for reading, writing, speaking, and listening, language, and mathematics. Next slide, please. So let's discuss taking a standard and using it for our course. We'll take this standard and contextualize it for a paraprofessional in this example here. So if we look at RI/RL, it says, cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. To contextualize that for parapro, we would just say, cite strong and thorough textual evidence to identify instructional support materials and determine appropriate educational strategies. I believe that week they're covering diverse learning styles and instructional support methods to assist teachers. Looking at RST, determine the meaning of symbols, key terms, and other domain-specific words and phrases as they are used in a specific scientific or technical context. And using a paraprofessional context, determine the meaning of the key terms to define behavioral management approaches and strategies. Next slide, please. The next example we will look at is for a CompTIA course. CompTIA IT Fundamentals focuses on the knowledge and skills required to identify and explain the basics of computing, IT infrastructure, software development, and database use. Looking at the first standard, SL, integrate multiple sources of information presented in diverse formats and media in order to make informed decisions and solve problems, evaluating the credibility and accuracy of each source and noting any discrepancies among the data. For CompTIA, explain the differences in software and desktop applications, then develop a PowerPoint and a Word document and print your products. Looking at the next standard, RI 3.5, use text features and search tools to locate information relevant to a given topic efficiently. Use effective, and if we look at this in a CompTIA context, use effective search strategies for locating and retrieving electronic information using syntax and Boolean logic operators. So Boolean is using words like and, or not. And when you're working with databases, that is very important. So now looking at another example, this one comes from welding, and this one focuses on math concepts. The first one states, apply concepts of density based on an area and volume in modeling situations. And so here they're working with volume and they're doing the volume of density and pressure of gases. So they're working with fuel gases, oxygen, inert gases that week. So this is all reinforcing what is being covered in the workforce training. The next one is a N angle that turns through N 1 degree angles is said to have an angle of N degrees. And so they reinforce that by taking angle measurements off of workplace documents, and in this case, it was blueprints. Next slide, please. Finally, you can contextualize several standards by choosing the right textbook or resources. We have a program doing the NCCER certification. The construction safety resource is used for contextualized reading. The books, Applied Construction Math and Mathematics for the Trades, both teach math concepts using contextualized and real-world examples and problems. You just have to select which standard you are working with for that day and use the text to teach that concept in context. Next slide, please. Finally, if you are working on several courses, I suggest sending in one application first so we can work out any issues. It will save time on the approval process and on the following proposals. If you want to set up a meeting to discuss your idea for a course, send me an email or just give me a call. Thank you all for your time and hard work, and I will turn it back over to Jerry now.
Yeah, Roy, I actually have a question for you. It has to do with the essential skills software. We require that to be part of the curriculum or the curricula, but we do not require necessarily for a student to actually complete and earn the certificate. That is correct, is that?
Well, for the IETs, they have to get the Essential Soft Skills credential.
No, they do not.
Oh, okay.
No, they do not have to earn it. We have to incorporate it into the IET curriculum. Obviously, not every student will. We want every student to have that chance and that possibility to earn the credential and to afford them that opportunity. But in the end, it's not possible that every student will earn that credential.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clarification. And I think that would
All
make
right.
it a little bit easier for all of our providers and maybe wipe a little sweat off their foreheads, if you will. So,
All right.
all righty. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Are there any other questions, Matt, for Roy?
Negative, sir.
All righty. Let's move on. Again, thank you so much, Roy. About 30 Indiana directors, supervisors, and adult educators were invited to participate in the National Association of State Directors of Adult Education LEAD Institute in partnership with AIR, and this is quite an honor. Our goal is, in Indiana, to increase enrollments and the overall quality of Indiana adult education, including IET and WEI programming, by ensuring that Indiana serves all students, including individuals at the lowest levels. And before our colleague Nancy retired at the end of last month, she left us some pearls of wisdom as we think about ensuring that we serve all students, all Hoosiers. The first falls under the category of schedule. And she asked the question, does your program schedule offer a variety of times and days to meet the students' needs? And the key word here is students' needs, not necessarily teacher needs. Are the schedules at a time for the students? The next is location. Are there locations that cover all areas of the county and or region? Are the locations accessible? Are the locations safe and comfortable? Is the environment a good learning environment? Point of contact. Who is the first person the student talks to? Is a point of contact friendly, helpful, welcoming, and encouraging? Does a point of contact follow up with all student referrals? In other words, does the individual at the front desk have a passion for serving the most in need. Very fundamental, very basic questions that Nancy is asking, but that front end person, the person who greets that student, is their first point of contact, can either make or break whether a student walks in and stays in adult education. Community partnerships, community-based partnerships. Is the program visible in the community? Do CBOs know adult education? Is there a referral process in place? Are the partnerships maintained, or is it a one and done proposition? Can the CBO become intersected with shared customers? For example, childcare, transportation, single parents. And the last pearl wisdom from Nancy is marketing. Does the program have a good social media account? Does the program have up-to-date information online on their website, as an example? Is the information correct? Do all partners who refer students have updated schedule and referral information? Sometimes we take for granted this very simple, very basic guidance, but as one director mentioned to me yesterday in a telephone conversation, we should never lose sight of why we are here. Our students are our missions, and that's why we provide adult education. This morning I asked Polly Redmond and Caroline Foster to join us, and Polly wrote some very basic advice to her staff in a recent newsletter. And she said, in order to meet our goals for this fall, we need to get more students into classes. We need to remind them that we're here. Listen to that again. We need to remind them that we're here. On the next slide, if you have less than 5 students in a class, you should be having orientation at least every other week. You should not be waiting for monthly orientations to bring in students. A teacher and an assistant can run the orientation without a life coach present. If you have very few students in class, one of the classroom staff should be going out to do PR, public relations, at least a part of the night, or doing it online. And on the screen, you'll see some suggested locations, which Polly will go into more detail in just a few minutes. But welcome, Polly. So good that you're joining us this morning.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. So go ahead and go to the next slide. The first thing when we look at rebuilding a program, and really after a year of pandemic, we're really looking at rebuilding a program because numbers tanked across the state. We know that, and they did for us too. Many classes we couldn't have people in, and many parents had to stay home with their school-age children. So we started looking about a month ago at a really heavy-duty campaign to rebuild this program. The first thing we always have to ask is, what are our strengths? As the director, I have some strengths that I've built up over the last 20 some years of adult education, but I also know I have some weaknesses. The best thing to do then is go to your staff. And I started doing this years ago, and I've continued on this. I've got some younger staff who are social media whizzes and have had other positions where they've worked with social media. I have life coaches who are going out in the community to find agencies to connect with, to help break down barriers for our students. And while they're there, they leave promotional materials for our program. So they're not only finding resources for our students to use, but then they're using that opportunity to let people know that we're out there. We also looked at some unique connections. Do your staff belong to organizations that they can use as a platform to discuss our program and what we do and who we serve, to get that out there? We've got a lot of staff who are involved in a lot of different organizations, and they use their platforms to go out and let people know we're here, and they offer to, they actually offer me to come out and talk to other programs. And so I've given them all permission to tell people, yes, I'll be out to talk to you. The next thing I really looked at is what resources do I have locally? And I'm very fortunate to work at Heinz Career Center because next door to me is a print shop, which means I get printing for pretty cheap. And part of the time, the students in the program will work on designs for me. And so they print up rack cards, they print up business cards for my staff. They will do flyers if I need them to. Sometimes they redesign my promotional techniques, and it gets a nice set of young eyes on that. Thanks. With the next slide, we go to old school advertising. A lot of our students, as you know, nope, stay there. Good, got it. A lot of our students, as you know, are not technologically really strong. And so for them, we go old school. We do printed flyers with tear-offs, and it's amazing how quickly those tear-offs go. We send them with staff, we send them with students, we hand them out to agencies who call us and ask us to drop off more because they use them up all the time. If you go to someplace like Staples, you can get those vinyl banners that people put up for fairs and things. And sometimes pharmacies or grocery stores will let you put them by their parking lot so that students see them on their way in and out. And I've found that especially with small towns, writing newspaper articles about new sites we're opening, or I've got a whole series planned on the new HiSET test, which is going to give me an opportunity to do newspaper articles. Next slide, please. And then there's social media. These days, you can't do an advertising campaign without social media. We have a Facebook page that my life coaches and I both post on. We post out to community health sites and Facebook discussion groups for small towns. And since I cover 3 counties, there's a lot of small town discussion groups to get those to. The Buy Nothing Facebook groups, because our classes are free, if you look up Buy Nothing Tipton, Buy Nothing Elwood, you can find those groups, and oftentimes they will actually let you post free classes. And that gets the attention of a lot of people. Online news sites, don't forget that there are many online newspapers that are not print newspapers anymore. Instagram's a big one. Take pictures of your flyers and things and post to an Instagram and then ask people to share it. And ask students where they get their information and make sure you post to where your students get their information. Next slide. And then places are important. Where are your students? So we found that our students are at laundromats. Many of them don't have their own washers. They go in there and they have time while their clothes are washing. Bars, I can't tell you how many times over the years my staff has said, is it okay if we put these up in bars? People are there, yes, put them up. Libraries, churches, elementary and middle schools, make sure their staff knows that your classes are there to help their parents so they can help their students. Grocery stores, a lot of people will read things in and out of grocery stores. Those you'll have to put up frequently. Childcare centers, because parents of young children often are just starting out and still need a boost in their education. And then community events. One of my assistants, as I've been posting this in our weekly newsletters, came and said, hey, I'm willing to do 4 trunk or treats in the Anderson area. Is that okay? Would you buy candy so I can hand out stuff with trunk or treats? And so we've got things like that. We do an agency fair for Coats for Kids. We've had several agency fairs over the years. And I think, yeah, that's the end. The big thing is really use your resources, use your staff. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paula. I really appreciate trunk or treat. I had never thought about that, but that's a great opportunity, and that's coming up because we know in all the stores the Halloween, the fall is here, and that's a great opportunity. Hopefully, not a missed opportunity. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We also have Caroline here this morning, and she's going to talk about, we're going to go a little bit further north. I want to welcome Caroline and just ask her, do you have an update on Dustin before you talk about some marketing tips?
I do. Thank you, Jerry. And the DWD Adult Education team for having me on today. Yes, Dustin has passed his high school equivalent and is now working full-time. He's still living in the community in Angola and is a great marketing tool for us on just making sure everybody knows what we offer to the community.
Oh my God. Great.
Well, thank you. Next slide, please. One of the things I just wanted to make sure everybody is aware is that Impact Institute, we are an adult education provider. We are also connected with our career and technical education side. Next slide, please. So one of the great things about that connection is we got together when I first came over to Impact and said we needed to have a simple mission statement that served both. Because this simple mission statement should be something that our employees can give you in an elevator speech if you have less than 2 minutes of what it is we do for our community and what it is we do with our taxpayer dollars. So our mission is to impact lives and create career and college ready students. Next slide. So some of the things that we have done over the years is really a lot of what Polly spoke about. You know, we've tried different things to try to connect with our students. Some have been more traditional, some have been more altered or different, or things that we didn't really expect to have such a feedback and such a positive response on. One of them, for example, is radio announcements. We are actually on all of the local sports radio announcements through our local radio station. We do this at a minimal cost. We do not pay a large amount. Just so you know, Impact Institute Adult Education lives in about a $3,000 marketing budget, which I know for some is high. For us, we spend every single dollar of it on marketing and giving back to our students and making sure our name is out in our community. We also do banners, like Polly mentioned. The only thing we have started to do is we actually removed our ELL, so it's ELL and HSE. And we've discovered with those two difference, because you're really marketing to two totally different groups of people, and it seems to have helped making that connection to where our classes are located, what is going on in those classrooms, and what students we're serving. Even if it's ELL and adult education or HSE students in the same building, we will utilize two different banners at two different spots of that property so that we are marketing to both. One of the things that was asked this last year was to do yard signs. I know up at Elkhart Career Center, they also have done this, but they're just the small signs that you just put out. We have them now in almost all of our employees' front yards. A lot of our churches were complaining about the larger banners when they had to mow around them. This is something that's easy. We can remove it. We can change our location. We can try to make sure we're spotting individuals. On our website, we have an interest form. So literally a student can go onto our website, do an online registration. What is great about this is they get an email within 24 hours, just connecting them right away to our organization and telling them that our goal is to serve them, to get them to complete their educational journey. Then what we've done is we utilize that address that they give us, and we utilize that email address that they give us, and we go ahead and use it for marketing later. Recently, we went ahead and sent out an email to the past 3 years of students' email addresses that were in Inters and were on our interest forms. All we pretty much did was the email says, hey, come see us. This is a great time. The Indiana High School Equivalent Test is going to be free for the year. And yes, I'm saying for the year. I understand we're all living on a grant that could or could not last us for the year, but Impact has gone ahead and found support in our community that we will be supporting this for the year. We sent out, I want to say about 1,000 different emails, if not more. Yes, we got a lot of responses that email address no longer is available. However, it worked. We have been able in the last week seeing about a 25% more increase of people coming into our locations and trying to complete their high school equivalent or reconnecting with our ELL. We've done traditional, which I want to say is like postcards. What we do with the postcards is a little bit different though. Vistaprint often offers great little marketing tips. They'll also give you discounts on when you order a large quantity of postcards. So we'll do them for different holidays. We did them for the free HSE. We do it for back to school. We'll do it for spring. This last year we did Valentine's Day. We had so many calls of people calling us saying, I want my Valentine's Day present to be to my wife, my significant other, that I completed my Indiana high school equivalent. So that ended up really working for us. We kind of just go based on, well, last year we did these times a year. Let's do something different. On the postcards, we also put resident. We don't actually put the student names. We grab those addresses off of Inters and we just put resident, because then we could be marketing to somebody who never has even been connected to Impact, but their address has. We use the addresses of our jails, our inmates, whoever the inmates have given us as an address, we'll utilize it. Again, we're back to that website interest form. We utilize those addresses. We utilize any addresses we can think of. We also have done business cards. They're small cards, they're just about this big. It's great, they can put in people's wallets. We can give them to all of our community partners. And we found that this is a very economic way that is a quick reference for everyone. We do elementary flyers. So our Impact Institute is governed by a 13 superintendent board. We go to all of those superintendents and we ask to send home a flyer with every elementary school student in our districts. So again, that's 13 different school districts. Every single elementary school student goes home with a flyer about Impact Institute services. All of these guidance offices in our middle school, high school, and elementary school have our flyers for quick reference. This is not something that's super expensive for us. We go ahead and design it. We take a full sheet of paper, we cut it in half. We just make sure it's bright enough colors that people will notice it. And it usually gives enough information. We also do pull tabs. Just like Polly said, for whatever reason, the pull tabs work for our students. So we have those in laundromats. We have those food pantries. We have those in grocery stores. We put them everywhere we can. Our goal is always to comb the county so that nothing is missed. And when we find out something is missed, we go back. We do it again. We do also have flyers and brochures that we'll utilize to just let people know what is going on. So we also do social media. I'm sorry, I did not put that on my slides, but social media has served well for us. We'll also boost our social media posts because the fee tends to be pretty low. I think the most I've spent for a boost is, I want to say like $20. It's not been super expensive for us, and it's gone ahead and helped us. I do know we have individuals that reach out to other adult education program on my team that has just done a great job of utilizing all of you guys for references and helping us in ways we can expand. Next slide, please. We work with our communities. So one of the things we do in partnership with our CTE program is we do an annual report. So this annual report is just like a one-page flyer. We give this to all of our superintendents. We give this to all of our community organizations we work with, and it just gives us a rundown of how many students we served as an organization. What is our mission statement? How many credentials did we get? How many certifications did we get? Who did we serve? How did we serve them? We often put in a student success program too, because then when we do have a state representative coming, we're not trying to scramble to get this. We have this annual report. We do it once a year. We can go ahead and give that right away to individuals so they can go ahead and see what we have done in the most recent time. We also, on all the spaces that we get, yes, we get them for free, just like all of you, I am sure. We give them a letter at the end of each program year that just says, this is how many people we served in your location. This was the success stories of your location. This is how many people got a high school equivalent. This is how many people became enrolled. This is how many people got an educational gain. Just so then that way they can go back to their boards and share those stories and utilize that so that we're continuing to market. We go to all the local community meetings. As all of you probably know, United Way has been organizing meetings in each county. We serve 6 counties. We go to every single community meeting. We try to make sure that we're pushing our flyers, our pull tabs, connecting them. We email partners with dates. So when are we having orientation? When are we having HSD Graduation, when are we having HSE testing? What days can they go ahead and refer? Where will we be? What will we be doing? And often we go ahead and connect with different community organizations to make sure that they are aware of what we're offering. Food pantries, I often go to food pantry days. I go ahead and talk to the staff, make sure that they're aware of what we're doing, make sure that they can see my face and ask questions of what's going on, where are we at, talking to me about possibly questions students have. We also allow all of our community partners to come to the first day of the orientation. If that makes the student comfortable, if that helps the student walk through the door, I'm happy to have them join. Next slide, please. One thing we recently did, and I'm sorry, just want to make sure I bring it up, is we did a mailing to every single church in our local area. We just did a mailing with our pull tabs, just a little bit about us. What we've noticed is that all the churches then put that in their newsletters, which is really great. But marketing doesn't stop once the student walks in. We try to keep marketing to them because, as we know, these students are our billboards and they can help connect more students to our services. So as soon as the student walks through our door, we go ahead and give them an orientation folder that has our logo on it. We give them pens, we give them pencils, we give them earbuds that have our logo on it. These are all things they can return. Can be something that holds all their work. This holds all the information that goes home with them after orientation. But this is something, again, that shows them that this is what we are, this is who we are, this is our name recognition, and we want to make sure that then they can refer their friends. We do prizes throughout the year. If they get an educational gain, we have little baskets and bins, and it has like stress balls in it. We have t-shirts, we have sunglasses, we have bracelets that are color changing, we have cups, we have all different kinds of things. Sometimes we'll bring in snacks. We've gotten really into graduation parties. Once somebody completes their high school equivalent, the teacher will go out and buy cookies or buy a snack, and then they will bring their students back in so they can talk to them about how was the test, how did it feel, how are you feeling, how excited are you for this next step you've completed. It's been a really great thing to do. Next slide, please. So really, one of the things I think is always key is just to let you know the good, the bad, the ugly of these decisions. So the good is that we have seen us connecting more with people. In 2019, 2020, we were up 30% in our enrollment before COVID hit. And then we all went home and our enrollment stayed at that number after March. So unfortunately, what we saw last year was our numbers sustained with COVID. But so far this year, we are already up about 20%. So our goal is to meet that benchmark that has been set by the state. But one of the things we have seen that works for us is getting those people connected to us is working, getting the students connecting to us, because they, again, are our greatest asset, and they will go ahead and talk about our services and talk about the great things we're doing. We've noticed name recognition is a huge thing in our community. Getting the newspapers to come out for graduation is hard unless you have that name recognition and you can talk about who's your guest speaker, what is going on, some of the great things that they're going to see with our students. We often have students share the experience with friends. We love our success stories. We have a scholarship that we can provide for individuals for their high school equivalent fee. If they ask for a scholarship, we ask for their story. In that story, we always ask if we can share that with others in the community. And we often share these success stories with everybody so they know what we see, what you and I see every day from the students we work with. We use our students for advertising. We have them take advertising. They tell us where they go to hang out, but then they also take advertising. We offer them prizes. We offer them fun games. We do different things. If they come back and say, oh, Caroline, I put out 60 flyers, we'll give them all kinds of prizes and just tell them what a great support that is to hear. And then biggest thing is we try to stay current. We try to stay current with our students. We try to stay current with our community. Next slide. So the bad is postage. We pay a lot in postage. It's a great idea to send out all these postcards, but sometimes postcards still come back. It costs a lot of money to send out all of this. The addresses still are not correct. Sometimes our students, we're trying to read some of their penmanship, and sometimes that can be a problem. Invalid emails, we spent a lot of time getting some invalid emails back, trying to come up with different designs. Sometimes that can be a lot. And then updates, trying to make sure our information is current. For example, the Indiana high school equivalent testing being free. Before the state had announced it was going to be free again, I was in the community and seeing flyers that said it expired December 31st, 2020. So it goes ahead and tells you we need to be back out there and making sure everything is current. And then next. And finally, the ugly is it's very costly. You know, we try not just cost money-wise, costly on time. Sometimes we have seen theft of our marketing products. And the biggest thing is really time. You have to have time, you have to have people, you have to have the ability for your staff to get out to the community and making sure they're marketing. And that sometimes works really well. And sometimes, as we all do, we get busy in our classrooms and we just stay focused on what's going on and kind of forget to go out into the community. One thing I do want to, oh, sorry, next. One thing I just want to say, a shout out to IAACE, because I know I cannot wait to see a bunch of people to be able to collaborate with all of you. We get so much off of hearing what works for each of you, so I hope to see you there. If I can help you in any way, this is my name, this is my email address and my cell phone number. I'd love to help. And thank you again, Jerry and team, for having me on.
And thank you. Such good information from both you, Caroline, and Polly. You know, just to remind you, Polly said we need to remind them that we're here. Caroline, you said marketing doesn't stop. It's not just a one-time one and done. It's always continuous, and that students are our billboards. So true, so true. Well, I want to look just finally as we wind up today at our state data. And if we go to the next slide, we compared program year 2020 to program year 2021 just yesterday, and Indiana's total enrollment is up by about 1,000 students from the same time a year ago. Measurable skill gains are up by about 1.5 percentage points. However, HSEs are down by about 40 from the same time a year ago, but perhaps some of that is due to the transition to the new HiSET exam. Next slide, please. In a few days, we will take a snapshot for program year 2020. This is the data that we will submit to the U.S. Department of Education on or before October 1st. And in last month's webinar, we covered regional rankings in several categories, including enrollments, HSCs, and measurable skill gains. And on the screen, very quickly here are the tallies by region right before we will make that snapshot. So you can see the enrolled, the HSCs, the measurable skill gains, the IETs, and our separation rate. So with the next slide, we want to transition to Donna, and Donna has information about grants and contracts. Good morning, Donna.
Good morning to Jerry, to everybody. Okay, let's get into those reminders. I'll get those through real quickly. Closeouts should have been completed and submitted to the DWD Finance by now, unless you requested an extension before the due date. Also, we're looking at contracts. Make sure your grant signatories are watching their emails for anything from DWD. There was a delay in preparing the contracts due to the addition of the HSE fee reimbursement funds, but we are back on track. People have been asking about their new fiscal forms for the coming year. You will receive those very soon. Remember that you cannot request reimbursements until you have a fully executed contract. When you get the new forms, you will also get instructions on how to request the HSE fee reimbursements. Let's talk for just a second about state spending. At the beginning of August, we still had over $1 million left in unspent state money. As of this morning, we have $421,000 left in state. We still have 2 providers who have state funds and have not reimbursed for June, so hopefully that will bring that balance down even further. This is something we will definitely be working on throughout this coming year to be sure that we're not trying to catch up at the end of next year. Please take time to check your PY20 ABE and IELCE payments that you've received. If anything is still outstanding, email me that reimbursement so I can follow up on it as soon as possible. I look forward to seeing all my fiscal peeps at the IAACE conference in 3 weeks from today. Jerry, back to you.
Thank you so much, Donna. Brent has been with us, and every time that someone has said, Jerry, turn the slide or go to the next slide, is actually Brent doing the slides for us today. And Brent is transitioning to a new role, into a new position. So for right now, Matt is the Lone Ranger. So good morning, Matt.
Morning, Jerry. Thank you. Morning, everyone. I'm going to be very brief today because I don't really have much because everybody's already covered it. So yes, we are going to be doing the snapshot in the next couple of days. I was on with Steve. We're finalizing all of the data that we load. I've gotten most of the errors cleaned up, and thanks to you all for getting your stuff cleaned up. And the only thing that I have for you all is, okay, so the new security rights for the website ensure that your own personal passwords are at least 8 characters, contain at least 1 uppercase letter, contain at least 1 number, and they also contain a special character, which is any of the ampersand, asterisks, anything like that, exclamation. Ensure that your passwords are like that. If your password's not like that, go into the new website, click on the screwdriver and wrench icon, and you can change your password there. Just ensure that we've got good security for that. This is more from some internal audits that we've had and some questions that we've had for security. Again, teacher usernames should not be first initial and last name. If you have any of those, please get those fixed. That's all I got, Jerry.
Well, thank you, Matt. Jen is here this morning with IAACE dates. The conference, as Donna alluded to, is almost here. It's been a long time, Jen. Welcome.
Thanks, Jerry. I am getting so excited. And from all the chit chat today, I think there are some other people excited out there as well. As Donna said, 3 weeks to go. Whoop, whoop. Just to clarify a few things because of the email that I sent out last week. Whenever it comes to attendees attending in person, yes, we are limiting tickets. Do we have any seats? Yes. Left? Yes, we have a few. But if you are attending in person, I strongly suggest that you register today because the in-person tickets will probably run out very, very soon. But the good news is that virtual tickets to attend virtually, and there are several sessions that will be offered hybrid, and then we are working on how many sessions will be uploaded after the fact. Not available at conference time, but after the fact on the virtual platform. There's also some more good news in regards to the virtual ticket. Your president, Sheila Butler, IAACE's president, has agreed to open the virtual ticket up so that all IAACE members can purchase a ticket for themselves as well as someone else in your organization. So if you want to attend virtually and you want to also have another team member participate, then you can register more than one person by going online and selecting the virtual ticket. Any other questions in regards to the conference, please reach out to me. But there is one exciting thing that's going to be announced at the conference, and you guys are getting a sneak peek. And next slide, please. That is an essay contest, and no one else but Rob Moore, our advocacy chair, has to tell us more. Rob?
Well, good morning, everybody. Yes, we're really excited about this. This is an event that's coordinated by your advocacy committee, and I really appreciate everyone's work on this. Basically, what we've tried to do is to find a way that we can educate our legislators and celebrate our students kind of at the same time. So we'd like to invite everyone to have their learners participate in an essay contest. The topic will be how adult education will connect me to my next level. Get it? Like next level jobs, next level roads, next level agenda. Get it? Okay, got it. We're going to ask each consortium to give us between 1 and 3 essays per region that will be submitted for judging. And we are going to, actually we have invited 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 legislators from the Senate and the House from both parties to serve as judges. And we're waiting to hear back from that invitation from them. So far I got the thank you for writing to me, your issue is very important, blah, blah, blah. But hopefully we'll get a more personalized response, yes or no, to these 8 legislators that we've invited to serve as judges. And then we have a Rotunda event scheduled for January 24th. And we will go ahead and make the presentation of the award to the winner at the Rotunda event, among some other things. So you hear some more about the Rotunda event in coming days, but that date is locked in. Thank you, Marilyn, for helping us with DWD Communications to secure that date. So that's the essay contest.
Well, Rob, I suggest you stay on because the next slide, I know we've done a lot of work on it as far as preparation, but what is coming up? Adult Education and Family Literacy Week.
Right.
Yes. I'm waiting for, there it is. Whenever it comes to the Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, I know, Rob, you remember last year you did some great stuff on some marketing, and Polly and Caroline had some great stuff today. One tip that I will give for all of that marketing, especially whenever it comes to the social media, is utilize IAACE's hashtag IAACE, because when you do, we will share it. When we share it, it goes out to our audiences and the audiences of those that follow us, and it keeps moving on. So the more hashtag you put of ours, the more that we can share for you. But whenever it comes to Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, Rob, do you have your plan?
Yes, matter of fact, I'm going to go to the COAID website where a plan is already in place for me to follow. It's really easy. They have some information that you could release on each day of the week, Monday through Friday, on your social media, through other forms of communication that you have. You can also, I also advise to invite your legislator to one of those days to visit your program, even though it may not be a formalized event, just come and visit. I'd recommend getting with your county council or county commissioners or town board, ask them to pass a resolution. You probably should ask that now before the end of the month. That way their legal team can get that wording together. But I believe COAID's toolkit or maybe Pro Literacy probably has, if you look carefully, probably has a resolution all ready made for you to take in and ask for approval. But do it ahead of time to whatever executive is in charge of that body, so that executive can get that ready. Great, great ideas that are already made for you, very easy to follow.
And IAACE will be releasing later today a web page that will have all the links to all the information, so that if you forget where it is, you can go to IAACE's website. So look for that in your email box later today. Next up, that is my plea for more information from you in regards to blogs and newsletters. We're going to mix it up all this month with a lot of conference information and a lot of Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. So hope that I will see you in 3 weeks, but if not, well, maybe next time. Thanks so much, Jerry.
Jen, I have a question.
Oh, sure.
So this is from Karen Hill. Will attendees need to wear masks?
The board does have that on their agenda this Friday. It was brought up by, I think it was a member, I can't remember actually now, and so it is on the board's agenda to vote on that on Friday. If you have opinions and you would like to share them with me privately, I encourage you to do so. You can email me at director@IAACE.com.
Well, thank you very much, Jen. Thank you very much, Rob. We're looking forward to seeing everyone in 3 weeks, either in person or virtual. So please join us October 13th for our next statewide webinar. As always, we will email a registration link as we get closer to the date. Have a great afternoon.